Good morning, everyone. This is my presentation to you guys. Island Plumbing, this is kind of what I come across in the field on a daily basis. This is just our contact information, but in the very first slide, this is an example of galvanic corrosion. So that's when you have two dissimilar metals in contact with another. Also, it has electrolyte in presence with those two dissimilar metals. So that causes a corrosion. So right here you have galvanized metal in contact with copper, and the lady called me out initially because she was having a leak. I mean, go figure, right? Look at that. So I just basically cut out the existing system and just replaced it with copper and brass and tied back into her irrigation line. So that's just one example of stuff that I come across on a daily basis and that I repair.
Copper and brass are compatible?
Yeah, brass is, yeah, in brass it's alloy and 80% copper. So they're kind of more similar to each other as opposed to galvanized metal. So, and then in this slide right here, this was a referral from Sonia. And what was going on here was the customer's filtration system failed and it was giving them issues. And they didn't have a bypass valve for that. So what I did was I added a shutoff valve before it entered into the filtration and added this bypass line right here. So what you do is you shut off both of these. So in the future, if you ever needed to service them, you can without having to shut the water off to the entire home. So you can still have water to your home and be able to either work on it, replace it, whatever you need to do. So it's always good to have when you have a filtration device to have a bypass valve. In the next slide, I have, so root intrusion. I come across this a lot. A lot of these homes in Southern California are really old. A lot of the issues do occur in the clay. Usually the material transitions outside of the home about 3 feet. So whether if you have a older home built in the 60s or prior to that, which is a cast iron system, it'll usually transition to clay. Clay sections come in like 3-foot sections. And that clay over time can become offset, you get root intrusions, and it just leads to a big issue. So anytime that main sewer lateral is compromised, you can't really use anything in your house. You can't brush your teeth, you can't flush the toilet, you can't shower. I mean, everything's just backing up. So what do? I do a camera inspection. I find out exactly where that root intrusion's happening, cut out a piece of concrete if I have to, jackhammer that up, dig, expose the line. And the next slide, you'll see how I rip that out. There's roots in that 90 right there. And just replace that with ABS material. And then you use, special bands to transition onto that clay. You torque it down to 60 pounds, make sure that it's a secure connection, test the system, run water, make sure there's no leaks. Once you confirm that everything's functioning properly, then go ahead and put the dirt back and then do the concrete repair. So that's what I did on this job in particular. And that was just a clean out replacement. This one was kind of a bigger project. So back to what I was saying about the material transitioning 3 feet away from the home. This whole line was clay and it was compromised basically up to the city connection. And so rather than trenching their entire yard and their driveway and just making a big mess, this is where you do a pipe bursting. You dig one hole in the very front of the home, and I dug a hole. The line was already cracked. I just kind of opened it up, relieved the rest of the pressure behind it, exposed it, and then in the next slide, this is near the sidewalk. So I made a hole there, dug down. It was actually a pretty crazy dig. It was like 6.5 feet almost, but dug down. With this pipe right here, it's a poly pipe. It's somewhat flexible. You connect it to the end of what looks like a torpedo. What essentially it does is you hook this up to the clay pipe, and as it's going through the clay pipe, it's breaking it up and it's pulling the new pipe in behind it. And so it pulls it in all the way to where your next connection is. So then you have a brand new line with, it's just one single line. There's no connections or anything. It's just one solid line. and then you connect at your points, A and B. And so right there, that whole lateral is replaced. There's no more issues. We tested everything. I installed on the next slide, you can see I put in a two-way clean out, which you want. You want to have access to the home. You want access towards the city. So that's what I did with this job in particular. And I even dug underneath the house and connected to the rest of the system. So this is stuff that I kind of do more or less on like a daily basis. Full redrains, full repipes, gas repipes. So yeah, you guys name it, I've done it. Oh, and this was what it looked like in the end. I did the concrete patching, and then I put on these 2 green caps. You want to have access to that clean out. A lot of times people will, you don't know how many times I've come across where people are like, oh, I have one, and you're going around their property, and they're like, oh, I guess it's buried, or I guess it's, and you gotta, it's like now you're playing a guessing game, like where's your clean out at, So I like to make it visible, put green caps right there. You need to know where your clean outs are, because in the event where you're in that, situation, you want to be able to find that. So that's that. And the next slide, this was a job from Dante. Replaced a shower valve. The shower valve failed. It just had no pressure. It was just needed to be replaced. So opened up the wall behind the shower. You can go in through the front and open the tile, but it's just more of a hassle. So why not just go through the drywall, right? Opened up the back side of the wall. That's the existing valve, and it was plumbed in with PEX. PEX is kind of cool, there's open or PEX. It can expand and contract. So I cut out the valve, and the next slide you can see that I put in the new valve. Yeah, just reconnected with the open or PEX. Made it pretty straightforward, and that's the new valve that I installed. Finished plate on the far right. And yeah, next slide, it's fine.
Zack, is that's the wall right behind the shower then?
Yes.
That's in the other room, just going in the other side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a nice little square box in there. So
yeah, a little access panel, which is a great idea.
Nice.
Yeah.
You did a good, nice cut, so it fit perfectly. Well, I didn't even have to do anything extra. Just I put it up in there. It was easy to go. So
Nice.
And this job in particular, this was in Irvine, right behind my aunt's house. Kitchen stoppages are probably like 90% of the stoppages I go to, because people just put all kinds of stuff in their kitchen drain. This job, this person had no clean out in their home, and as I was cabling, I'd pull this cable out and it was just covered with grease, just a bunch of white gunky stuff on it. And so the cable doesn't necessarily, it's not a permanent solution. It's like, I tell people, it's like sticking a straw through peanut butter, man. You know what I mean? Like, you poke a hole in it, it may temporarily relieve the stoppage, but over time, all that stuff just closes back up again. You're back to square one. So what do? I always recommend hydrojetting. So they didn't have a clean out. You want to install a clean out to do a hydrojetting, because we're introducing thousands of PSI worth of water into a system that's already backing up. You're going to flood someone's house out if they don't have an outside clean out. So I installed an outside clean out, and in the next slide, that was the hydrojetter right here. You can see, look at all that grease. That stuff just hardens up. You're not going to get that out of the line with a cable. You need a hydrojetter for something like that. So after I do a thorough cleaning with the hydrojetter, I follow up with a camera inspection and just confirm, like, okay, is this line clear? What's the condition of this line? And all of that. And then once I can guarantee that the line's in good shape, then I can give you a warranty on that stoppage. So that's kind of what I do. And yeah, thank you. That's me and my brother and my partner Glenn, and that's right in front of my aunt's house in Irvine. And yeah, do you guys have any questions?
Cameron.
Yeah.
So I had that happen to my house.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy did take some pictures so that I could go back to the city, because he said this looks like it's on the city side.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a camera, you have one of those, just so homeowners can have a recourse.
Right.
With
every inspection I do, I copy that onto a USB, and then I'll forward that to the homeowner. That way they have that for their records.
Nice.
On the Zach, on the camera setup, do you have where you can also trace and know right where the
Mhm.
line is going and mark it?
Absolutely.
And hit the depth also? as to what
Absolutely.
we're looking at?
Yeah, I have a locator. So the camera's a really cool device, very expensive. Not only do you get a visual, but the camera also, it will transpond a signal. And I have a receiver for that. So what I do is I find the head of that camera and it'll tell me the depth, it'll tell me the location and all that. So it takes all the guessing out of finding out where exactly this issue is, which makes my life a lot easier. And so, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, dude.
I got a project for you.
How can I help? Yes.
Something as simple as a interior shower valve where the washers are bad and it's a leak in the
Mhm.
shower head. That's something you would take care of.
Yeah, like, if I have to change cartridges or the seats or anything like that, I can do that as well. It just kind of comes down, I need to look at it in person. Sometimes it's like the repair versus the replacement, you know what I mean? So if you're just off by, a few $100s to replace it, that's always my recommendation, especially if it's been an old valve that's had hard water and you got age and it's been through high pressure for 30 odd years, or more. Like, yeah, it's usually I recommend to replace older valves. Yes.
Zach, do you guys do your own hydrogating?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. We sub that out. So
Yeah.
that's something
Yeah.
cool we could help you with.
So,
Where did you learn how to do all this, and when did you get started?
oh man. Well, I kind of got introduced to plumbing a little bit. It started because my dad had a rental property on the Big Island that was right down the street from us. And every time a renter moves out, there's always something you have to fix. So I have 3 brothers, and my dad was a single father, and so it was just all 4 of us. And he would just bring us along on projects, and at a young age, just showing me how to like change a toilet out, how to do this, how to do that, how to unclog a sink, how to install the water heater. And so started off with that, moved out here, got into a company that offered an apprenticeship program, went through that apprenticeship program, and yeah, the rest is pretty much history. So that's where I got all my experience from.
So that's where you got your name, Island Plumbing, from.
Yeah,
That's
because me and my partner are both from the Big Island, Hawaii.
Great idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I have family
Yeah.
in there. Oh, nice.
How many trucks are you running? Is it just the one van? Is there more?
We got this one van right now, but yeah, we're looking to get another van here pretty soon.
Quick question for you. What type of preventative maintenance would you recommend people do?
Oh, there's a ton of things you can do. I mean, I always tell people 3 things that cause leaks, right? Is high water pressure, hard water, and age. So I mean, having a filtration for your home's a good idea. Making sure that you don't have high water pressure is always a good idea too. With your drains in particular, they sell an enzyme called Bio1, and so you can even put that in your drain as maintenance to prevent that buildup from occurring. So there's that. There's a ton of different things, like you can install earthquake valves for your gas line in case, anytime there's like some kind of issue, you have an earthquake or something, it shuts off the gas to the home, so you're not having any issue as far as that goes. But yeah, and then expansion tanks on water heaters, making sure that you are flushing your water heater yearly. A lot of people definitely don't do that, and then they wonder why their water heaters fail, prematurely. So it's like, okay, do you ever service this water heater? A lot of people neglect it. They don't even think about it. Plumbing's out of sight, out of mind. So good thing to like have that in the back of your head, like, okay, yearly I need to do this. So yeah.
Is that for both tanked water heaters and tankless?
Yeah,
I've heard about
tank and tankless. Yeah, with tank water heaters as well. And you want to change that anode rod as well. There's a rod in there that all the minerals, it'll attack the tank if you don't have that anode rod in good working order.
Is that anode rod tied to the TP valve, the temperature pressure? Where's that rod?
So on the top of a water heater, you can you shut the water off to the water heater, and there's like a nut on the top of it that you would take off, and you're able to just remove it from there. Yeah. So yeah, that's just some of the stuff I do on the daily, guys.
Do you get into larger remodels at all?
Yeah,
Okay.
we definitely do. We have a project going on in Newport that should be happening next month, where we're doing a total repipe as far as like water, drains, gas. It was a big bid that went through, so we're just kind of waiting for the project to start. So yeah, we do that stuff all the time as well.
One other question. You told us how you learned the business through your father and just taking care of rental properties.
Mm-hmm.
That's how to do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you learn how to run a business?
Well, I am grateful for my partner. My partner, he's had a plumbing business for 8 years prior to us starting this one. And so he's kind of the guy in the back office who really is, he's teaching me and trying to keep me up to speed on things. I have the knowledge in the field, and so I know how to perform the work. In the back office and the business side of it, I am still learning stuff every day. And, you know, I'm picking his brain all the time and trying to learn and figure it out for myself as well. But yeah, that's how we run that.
Good job.
And thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate it, guys.